Race is an ancient concept that has always been around in some capacity, whether people want to admit to it or not. There's nothing inherently bad about labels. It's the meaning behind them that makes things what they are, positive or negative. I mean, if labels didn't exist, then how else would people be able to tell the difference between things, places, people, etc.? The problem comes in when people decide that labels are reason enough to be at odds with someone of a different label, especially as it pertains to race. But that's not the subject of this video. Now, this right here is about the argument of why you gotta bring race into it, whenever race is actually pretty damn relevant to the topic or the situation. Every group of people has their own culture, their own way of thinking, their own way of doing things. And that's all fine. People being in different parts of the world with different environments with their own unique attributes can't possibly be exactly the same as people of other places. Long story short, everybody has something different to bring to the table. However, whenever this pertains to black people, things tend to get a bit flimsy. And I know there's some cats that just sighed hard as shit just now. Not that I really care, I'm just saying. If what I'm about to talk about makes you feel some type of way, then that's how you feel. Also, I'm not speaking generally on absolutes. So if you get offended by what I say, regardless of how much I say certain people or some people, it's probably because I'm talking to you. Now, black people have created and contributed many things to the collective world. From culture to knowledge to philosophy to inventions to trends and even social movements that impacted the world. Or at least a big ass portion of it. It always seems like whenever black people make these positive contributions, they're either overshadowed or blotted out entirely, and the credit is given to someone else. I don't know about you, but I ain't with that bullshit. Now, people will go out of their way to either ignore, erase, or hide the fact that something amazing was created by black people. I mean, it even goes back as far as motherfuckers who swear that the ancient Egyptians were everything except black. I'm sorry to break it to you, but the Egyptians were white.
Bitch, please.
There may have been white countries that traded with the Egyptians and white people who went to Egypt to, study and shit. That does not mean that the Egyptians were white people. Like, you gotta be one hell of a committed snake to just sit there and tell a loud ass lie with a straight face like we don't know that you're lying.
Nigga, did you know that I can see you?
Black people act like they're like the center of the universe and think everyone is copying them. First of all, dick sneeze conceit exists in literally every racial group. Second of all, motherfucker, if no one is copying black people, then why is it that every time there's a new trend, some new slang, or a new dance that the whole world starts doing, it just so happens to be something that stems from black people? Yeah, twerking was ghetto until white women started doing it. Now it's an art form because they're doing it now. If something is originally done by black people, it doesn't gain any real respect or treat it as something legitimate until someone else, usually white people, start biting off the shit.
It's a fact.
Oh, that's not an opinion, it's a fact.
They're always trying to find a slick ass way to try to edit black people out of our own stuff. Hip hop, jazz, R&B, soul, rock, and a whole plethora of other genres and any and everything else that people swear that black people had nothing to do with. These things are not predominantly black culture. It is black culture. Just because there's non-black people who take interest in it or enjoy those things or even participate in those things doesn't make it any less a part of black culture. Just like how me being a black dude that likes anime doesn't mean anime is no longer Japanese. Nah, anime belongs to black people now because a lot of us enjoy it. That's not how that works. If that fact makes you uncomfortable, well, that sounds like a you problem. If you have no problem admitting that anime is a Japanese medium, that kilts are Scottish, and vodka is Russian, and lasagna is Italian, and wuxia films are Chinese, but then get all pissy when it comes time to admit that something actually came from black people, it's like pouring some of the most concentrated acid on your skin. Anytime that there's a comment section or just a general dialogue with black people discussing accomplishments, culture, relationships, iconic events, etc., there's always that sneaky ass, nosy ass little rodent that feels like they gotta insert themselves into the convo and exclaim how offended and left out they feel. Why gotta be a race thing? Why can't it just be a people thing? Like, everything gotta be about glamorizing and catering to your conceited ass and stroking your ego and shit. And if that's not what's happening, you'll just automatically dismiss it as woke bullshit. There's cats that will say that shit simply because a movie or a show has non-white characters. Like, we're not even talking about race swaps. Hell, we're not even talking about characters of certain backgrounds being, retroactively inserted into certain events and time periods and environments that they most likely would not even be in. We're just talking about characters simply not being white. And based off of that detail alone, it's somehow woke. It's like with the pyramids. Them motherfuckers don't even want to admit that Egypt is clearly in Africa. But it's on the outer regions though. it still counts as Africa, dumbass. Since they can't give their own people the credit, they rather say it was aliens or some dumb shit that built the pyramids. Like, you got motherfuckers trying to debate that at certain times if there were black people in certain parts of Africa. Just think about how retarded that shit sounds for a second. They're asking if black people were in certain parts of Africa at certain points in time. Africa, where they make black people at, nigga. Yeah, I'm well aware that, yes, motherfuckers traveled and traded and set up shop in other parts of the world too, but nigga, don't act like you don't know what I mean. Like, their outrage and irritants ain't even because we're trying to make something a race thing. It's clearly the black people part that bothers them. Case in point, stop Asian hate. I agree. This needs to stop. It's ridiculous. Something needs to be done about this. Black lives matter. Oh, hey, hold up now. Other people exist too, you know. All lives matter. Like, why just single out black lives specifically? Like, we all go through shit. It's not just black people. Huge difference in response, ain't it? Like, hell, it's even other black people saying that same shit with their whole fucking chest. Like, y'all niggas are some straight up cartoons, but without the art. Anti-blackness and all that shit is nothing new. In all honesty, I personally don't care who you hate. Hate whoever you want to hate. That shit comes with the free will package. As long as you ain't taking shit to a physical level, then you good. Just make sure that you also remember to kindly fuck off and leave the people and their culture alone too. Like, you don't get to pick and choose what comes with walking down this path. You hate black people? Fine. And turn off the rap music, bitch. But there's non-black rappers too.
And?
So?
I missed the part where that's my problem.
You hate Asian people? Fine. Cancel that Crunchyroll subscription. No more anime for your ass. And spit out that Korean barbecue too. Eat a potato, nigga. Why you gotta bring race into it? Cause, motherfucker, race matters. And I'm gonna get back to that part in a bit. But anyway, soon as black people try to lay claim to what is ours, right? It's always this, well, why does this have to be a black thing? Why can't it just be a human thing? Get the fuck out of here. Only time I see these phony ass people come out they face with this we are the world bullshit is whenever they want to lay claim to something from another culture that isn't their own. People of various groups have this mentality and do this, but then want to be all closed off when it comes to their own shit. They only want to talk that, well, I gotta be a black thing shit whenever black people got something good to call their own, because they don't want black people to have whatever said good thing is to themselves. But because they know that they can't try to lay claim to something that they didn't make without backlash and having a fire set to their ass, they'll instead try to remove the faces of the culture it actually came from. They'll try to say shit like, oh, it's a human thing, or we don't actually know who made this. Now all of a sudden they want to be just human. All of a sudden now race is suddenly a fake and it's a social construct meant to divide people. All of a sudden there's no such thing as Africans and Asians and Europeans.
Shut up, bitch.
Like, shut that shit all the way up, because not only do you clearly not mean it, you don't even live by those words. Better yet, you like to pick and choose when you live by those words. You know, like, whenever it's convenient for whatever argument you're trying to make at the time. And the only reason you ever want to say that shit is for the sake of being dismissive to the overall argument. Hey, it look like black people got something good going on over there. We can't let them have all that good shit to themselves, so let's go over there and say that this belongs to all of us now.
If you don't get that bullshit out of my face, bitch.
Like, imagine somebody coming into your house and they be like, hey, yo, I like this house. This is our house now. Yeah, you gotta share this shit with us. Shit, play with me if you want to. I'll throw your bitch ass out through a closed door. Why is it such a big deal that black people need to lay claim to things they've made so much? For one, who the hell doesn't want their due credit for what they've made and accomplished? Two, because much of the world loves to style bite the shit out of black culture and then tries to play the shit off like they don't.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
It's like, now sure, much of the world loves black culture, but much of that same world also has great disdain from the very same people the culture comes from.
That's not an opinion, it's a fact.
Like, imagine you take a canvas, right? And you paint this fire-ass masterpiece. You set the brushes down after signing your name on it. Overnight, some bitch-ass little cocksucker comes along, they steal the painting, they cross your name out, and sign their own name on it. The painting goes into an exhibit and gets sold for, like, let's say tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Guess who gets the credit and gets paid? The thief. Guess who gets left feeling all salty and broke? You a goddamn liar if you trying to tell me that wouldn't piss you off to no end. People always want black people to stop trying to claim what's actually ours and just give our culture away like some old clothes that don't fit us anymore. Meanwhile, no one else is in any rush to ever do that dumb shit. You know, Chinese people are not about to not claim the Great Wall or ping pong or Chinese New Year or fucking tea. Italians are not about to come out their mouth saying that their dishes and All the various cuisines they've come up with have nothing to do with the people who came up with the shit. Indians ain't about to forfeit the Taj Mahal in Bollywood. The Japanese ain't about to say, nah, anime and manga have nothing to do with us. We just so happen to be Japanese while we made this shit. Their cultural contributions are theirs, and theirs alone. The same thing applies to black people and our cultural contributions.
It's not up for discussion, it's what the fuck it is.
If that makes you uncomfortable, then be uncomfortable. Shit, sit on a hot stove and get a nice taste of hell for all I care. Like, everyone else gets to be so exclusive with their shit, but black people gotta be all inclusive, give away the keys to the castle and be like, hey, make yourself at home. It's also funny that these same people always want to ask why bring race into it, cause I bet a $2 bag of air with chips in it that these same people, whenever the subject of things like crime is brought up, they have no trouble not leaving race out of the picture. You know, race conveniently doesn't exist when they don't want black people to claim something good, but the concept of race seems to suddenly exist just fine when it's time to be a racist sack of shit. Funny how that works. Or like if someone was physically assaulted or robbed by a black person, them same people will have zero problem mentioning that it was a black person that did the shit. I bet you that none of that why you need to bring race into it shit never pops up. Well, statistically speaking, black people do commit the most crimes. I'm not being racist, I'm just stating the facts. Statistically speaking,
you can forcefully suck my nuts, nigga.
Now back to what I said about race mattering, right? Long story short, it matters. It matters a lot. If it doesn't matter, stop asking about race on the census. If race doesn't matter, stop asking about race on forms when renting apartments or buying a house or applying for college or some shit. If race doesn't matter, then don't tell someone that they can't speak on certain issues about a race of people simply because they're not of that race. If race doesn't matter, this whole representation matters argument as it pertains to race, dead that shit. Don't ever bring it up again. Stop asking, how come we haven't seen a Marvel movie with someone who looks like us, whoever us is at the time? If it really didn't matter, and if it didn't bother you, you wouldn't be bringing it up. If it doesn't matter, then don't complain when a white character gets race swapped. Don't complain the next time that, you know, a Matt Damon or a Scarlett Johansson plays an Asian character. Don't complain if Leonardo DiCaprio plays Martin Luther King in a biopic. Don't complain if Meryl Streep plays Harriet Tubman or some shit. Like, people are in fact different from each other no matter how I don't see color you claim to be. And race isn't the only thing that makes people different. It's just one of the many things. People being different is not a bad thing. Hell, people enjoying things from other cultures that they're not a part of isn't bad either. That's the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. Appreciation is simply enjoying and showing respect for a culture that's different than your own. You don't have to be black to enjoy black culture. You don't have to be Asian to enjoy Asian culture. Same thing applies to every other culture in the world. Even participating or even taking inspiration from other cultures that you're not a part of is perfectly fine, as long as due credit is given. Like, for example, my art style is very much inspired by anime. I'll be lying my ass off if I said, nah, nigga, anime ain't got nothing to do with my art style. I just woke up one day and just randomly decided to start drawing like this. I don't even know what anime and manga is. Now, appropriation, on the other hand, comes in the form of disrespect or mockery or trivializing and diminishing someone else's culture into a joke, or even trying to remove the originators from what they created. That's why black people get so fucking defensive over the culture, because every time black people have tried to be on some all-inclusive shit with the culture, for some reason that shit somehow leads to black people being X'd out and omitted from our own shit. Our own shit. And we're expected to act like it's not that big of a deal, knowing damn well that no other group of people would let that shit slide if it was happening to them. Unless you happen to be one of those people who is so disconnected from their culture they couldn't give any less of a fuck than they do right now, then that's different. Now, as for you black bootlickers who always feel the need to show up and defend the bullshit because, you know, y'all need that acceptance from whoever's ass you're kissing, you know who you are. The ones who always come out their face saying shit like, well, why does this have to be just our culture? Why can't this just be everyone's? Bitch. Be on that bullshit by yourself. Quit it with this we shit. Like, y'all be the same ones that be cool with white people calling you all kinds of niggas and shit and be itching to give out cookout invites because they did the most mundane shit in the world. They spit a rap lyric or they did a dance. Yeah, like, you black on the inside, bro. Like, you was black in the past life. You invited to the cookout. Crass ass nigga. Man, fuck you and your nigga passes and cookout invites. How about that?